Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, recently I put out a few music videos and a few beats up on my website, and I had a bunch of inquiries from some of my subscribers asking me to kind of go over exactly the step-by-step process on how I, work on trap beats, because that's kind of the in thing right now with regards to, the culture. Now, I'm not a trap producer by any means. However, I do incorporate a lot of elements from trap into my beats, specifically on this one beat that we'll be working on, and I'll show you some of the elements and how I and what I sampled, kind of the inspiration I got, and the elements that I use with respect to trap drum patterns and the bass as well, and how I created the context of what the beat is so far before anybody's put vocals on it, etc. So let's take a listen to the beat, and then I'll go over some of the elements here. So that was the vibe. Now, a bunch of friends and I went to Singapore and China last year. I came back heavily influenced by their culture, and when I came back, obviously the first thing when I got into the studio was I wanted to create this amalgamation of Chinese culture along with hip-hop, urban trap culture as well. So the beat that we're gonna go over was a result of that influence. Excuse me. Now, I was on YouTube after I came back, searching for videos or searching for instrumental music, for stress relief, for studying, or whatever matter, and I came across this instrumental music. I'll actually show you the actual YouTube video that I was listening to. It was like a 4-hour video or 4-hour instrumental music on somebody's page that I found on YouTube, and I was listening through to it. So if I can, let's see, right there actually, but I didn't even listen to more than 10 minutes of it. As soon as the 7th minute came in, I knew that I had to sample this, so I converted this into an MP3, brought it over into Studio One, and started chopping it up. So this portion right here, let me duplicate this. Oh, there we go. So this was So let me just take that off. Now, I obviously chopped that up, taking the intro, taking a little bit of the portion to create some transitions, and chopping it a little more, and creating, some 4/4 or 8-bar loops. And this is what I came up with respect to the sample. And mind you, I didn't pitch it up or pitch it down as well, because I wanted to keep it as original as possible. So as you can tell, I took out some of the end, some of the notes from the end, and replaced it with this repetitive transition, I think, and I wanted to create that emphasis right when the drums drop, and bringing in a steady snare roll right when the drum and the bass comes in. It was pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of elements to this beat yet, of course. A lot of shit can be added in after, once the artist gets on the beat, figures out kind of, and the songwriter figures out exactly how they want to lay it out. We can take in elements, bring out elements, all of the nitty gritty after. So the first thing I did was I had a basic snare loop, which I could have created myself as well, which you can see on my other video on how to produce rap beats fast on Studio One, where I actually go into the elements of creating snare rolls, using pitch shifts and etc. For the different snares. So this is the snare roll that I found. This was a trap snare roll that kind of leads the transition into the drop. So the easiest way of making actually this snare roll, and I'll go over that quickly, is if you take a look at this portion right here. So these three snares, this might be the original pitch of the snares, and all they did was transpose this original snare right here, probably down one, created three more in the same swing, and then dropped it down another one or two, and then dropped it down another one or two, and it steadily decreased the pitch as it went through that bar loop. So, and it's as simple as that. And after that, prior to that, I threw in a bass drop as well, which is pretty straightforward. You can use any simple, straightforward bass drop. It kind of creates that sub frequency and brings in the drums as well. Kind of creates a great, good transition into the drop. Now, before the snare roll and the bass drop even comes in, I wanted to kind of build up to that drop. And the best way to do that is grab any sort of riser, or a reverse cymbal could work as well, and slowly bring that in during the first 8 bars of the beats. So this is the riser that I used that transition into that drop before the drums came in. And already I think that there was enough elements in that portion right there to not justify putting anything else in and making it too cluttered, because I wanted that instrument from the music, from the sample, to really shine and to keep that and to keep the central focus throughout the whole beat. So this is the intro so far without the drums. And obviously the snare rolls, the trap snare rolls kind of repeat every 8 bars before the drums come in. Now, the best part of the beat obviously is the drum pattern, and there's a few different elements that I'll go over. But first I'll go over the bass, and then we'll bring in the drums after. So the bass was a simple 808 bass. So for those who don't know, I really love the Sample One VST in Studio One, where you can drag any sort of audio clip or sample into this, and start transposing it to your MIDI keyboard, and you can play whatever you want. You can create a glide to it, which I have right here, or you can keep it just monophonic without the glide. You can transpose it, you can tune it, you can set the root key of that sample. So now, for example, what I did here was when I dragged in this bass sample, the root key or the original sample was in an F sharp key. So I changed the root key on sample 1 to F sharp, and what it did was, whenever I play middle C now, it would play it as middle C instead of previously, if the root key was still C, when I played middle C, it would play it as F sharp. Right, I think that makes sense. So once I created the root key as F sharp, being as that was the original pitch of the sample, now when I play it on the keyboard, I'm playing the actual key of the beat, or of the sample, sorry. So that was that. Once I have that pat down, all you do is go into your sequencer or your multi-track recorder or your sequencer, and start laying down the notes. So it was pretty straightforward for me for the loop. I thought it was a pretty funky bass line to go along with the instrumental music. And that's all it took with the riser, bass drops, snare rolls, and then again, the best part of the beat that comes in now is the drum pattern. So let's take a listen to that. Dope. So let me go over exactly how the drum pattern is laid out. So what I used was obviously the drum pad, or the multi-track drum pad from Studio One Impact, and again, just the quick crash course on this. It's simple. You lay out different samples on different pads here, and then if you have a MIDI pad or a keyboard that has a drum pad assigned with it, you can simply play them, right? But whatever, it's actually, the latency is really fucking with me. But nevertheless, now it's simple. All there is 3 elements: the bass drum, the snare, and that hi-hat. That's all it is, and it's laid out in this context. Actually, that is pretty funny, because it does transpose up here, right here. So what I did was I created an automation on the pitch for the hi-hat. So what it did was, in the first 4 bars, it was transposed down, I think 2, and then in the next 4 bars it transposed back up, and it's pretty simple. In Studio One, all you have to do is right click and create automation or edit automation, and once you do that, it'll create a automation track for you on top of the current track that it's at. And it's pretty straightforward. All you do is draw in the transposed automation, and it'll automatically transpose it once it hits that specific bar. So that gave it a real cool vibe. Instead of being redundant and the same pitch for the hi-hats throughout the whole song, it created that a dynamic with the pitch as it transitioned throughout the beat. So this is what it sounds like completely put together. Now So that was actually that, and it's very simple, straightforward. There's not a lot of elements to this beat, however it sounds very full as well. Now I also have my master chain going right now, so it does sound a lot more fatter than it would be initially, which you can actually check out my other video, how to master songs on Studio One. Now this was just to kind of give me an idea of what it would sound like once I fatten it up, but what I would usually do is obviously create a master project, and do everything in that portion of Studio One. Now just to give you a little idea of what it would sound like with before and after mastering. So this is the beat before throwing on my master chain, and I'll turn it on halfway through so you get an idea of exactly how much difference there is prior to mastering and after mastering. And now I'll turn it on. And off. And back on. So it's just a little bit of a plug at the end. If you want to find out exactly how to get that fat in your face sound, go check out my other video. It's called How to Master Songs in Studio One, or something along that line. That's not verbatim, but check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. And if you enjoyed this, if you learned a little something, I know this was a really quick tutorial. I didn't actually create it from scratch. I just wanted to go back and show you how to incorporate kind of different elements to create an original production that really doesn't sound like a lot of stuff that's out there, using very minimal elements as well. So I hope this was useful at a little bit of time. So I wanted to go over exactly how I created this production. But again, there's a lot of elements that are covered in my other videos as well. If you get a chance, go take a listen and watch those videos. They're very informative, and they're obviously all available on my YouTube channel. And if you found this very useful, and you want to see more videos on how-tos and some tips and tricks on Studio One, go ahead and press that subscribe button. Also, I put out 2 new songs for those who follow some of the songs that I'm putting out. I put out a music video for Paradise with another very talented rapper from Mississauga, Toronto area named Usman, and I put out another video for Habits, which is a R&B Toronto vibe. Watch the video. I had a great time shooting that music video as well with the talented interpretive classical dancer Riri. You can check her out if you enjoy her stuff. All the links will be in the description box below. But that's all the time I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.